And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman, where we speak to you about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon-to-be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. Be sure, if you like this content, hit the like button down below. And if you've not yet done it, and we don't know why, but if you've not yet done it, be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you get in real time. As soon as it's posted, you'll be the first person to get all the content that goes up on YouTube. We have a really good show today. Why is that? Because I've got somebody on. It's not just me. You don't have to listen to me blab for 20 minutes this week. It's my honor to introduce Aaron Shuchatowitz, who is the founder of AliyahMoneyTips.com, a new resource dedicated to empowering Olim to better manage their finances before and after Aliyah. Aaron is an accredited wealth management advisor and a California licensed investment advisor. He currently lives in Kochav HaShachar with his wife and 2 kids. And just because of the name, the first name that we share, it's going to be a good show. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I've heard a lot of these interviews, so it's great too. It's a very big honor to be on with you.
I appreciate that. So why don't we just jump right in? And why don't you tell us, first of all, what is AliyahMoneyTips.com?
Okay, so basically I started it as a side hobby blog where I wanted to just post about things that I had talked about with friends, I had done myself, I had helped others do, and kind of share that information with Olim. I was surprised at how much engagement there was with some of the content, even some of the longer articles that are less interesting. I understand people like to talk about, currency exchange and different ways to transfer money. That's a big one. But some of the longer form articles that I was writing, people were really engaging with. So I decided to kind of spend time trying to publish content every month on the site, dedicated just helping Olim understand concepts that are helpful for them when it comes to money management, when it comes to investing, when it comes to finance, when it comes to budgeting, all different kinds of topics, and trying to give Olim, a lot more resources, whether they're before Aliyah, whether they're after Aliyah, just a way to get, information to help them research, whatever topics they're looking for.
That's great. So why don't we divide this into sort of 2, like you just mentioned, that last sentence you said, why don't we speak about right now current Olim, sort of younger Olim, and then we'll get to people thinking about or planning their Aliyah in the second half of the show. What are things that, you should know, right? Because people, you mentioned how much interaction and engagement you've had. What are sort of the popular issues that Olim are facing once they make Aliyah?
Okay, so of course there's, how do I get money to Israel? If I'm making Aliyah, and I've had some savings, or I have some investments, or I have anything of that sort that I want to transfer money to Israel to be able to help with cash flow, in the meantime, as I get a job, that's a big topic. A recent topic I published about is there's a lot more interest in remote work for people who are considering Aliyah. The one maybe blessing that came out of COVID is this more acceptance of people working from anywhere in the world, and that has opened up a lot of opportunities, but it's a lot of complications also. So trying to aggregate information around taxes, I'm not an accountant, but just putting out information that's helpful for people before they talk to an accountant that they can read about and say, hey, is this relevant to me, or is this does this help hit my topic? That really, I think, hits an important point. Once they're here, there's a lot of questions, especially for Americans, about investing, as I'm sure you know, and what should I be investing in? What can I invest in? What's going to give me, what's going to have my US account give me a heart attack when they send over the bill, and just kind of, a better understanding of what's out there and what they should be looking for.
And I can really attest to the fact that you go through these issues in tremendous depth. I've read through your blog posts, and it's really good stuff. It's not superficial. It's really in depth. Going back to the first issue that you brought up, it's funny, about 2 hours ago, I got a call from a client who in the past had always offered, in her situation, she's retired. She moved here retired. All her money's in the States. And until now, she's basically written checks and cashed checks. Now, in the past, that used to be the way to get money over. It became harder a couple of years ago. And she told me now that her money changer, actually, there's something that's going on. And once again, we're back in the situation where it's very, very difficult for the money changers to deposit checks. So can you give us maybe a little bit of some of the firms that are out there, the easier ways for people to transfer money from the US to Israel?
Yeah, I mean, there's really, I guess, a breakdown between three different concepts. There's, of course, the four different concepts. There's the bank-to-bank transfers, where you can have your bank transfer directly to your Israeli bank, and all the fees and costly things associated with that. That's obviously a safe option, but it's also a very costly option. It's probably the most expensive option. Then you've got the various transfer service companies that provide a service and help individuals, get their money here. You will often deal with the back and forth with the bank in terms of transferring money over, and that's one option, obviously, with fees associated with that. There are the ability to open up a brokerage account, specifically with Interactive Brokers, where they make it easy if you are doing investing. And that's an important thing. If you're looking to do some investing alongside, they make it very easy to transfer money across borders and exchange currency at an extremely good rate and very low commission. And there's fintechs, which is basically apps or kind of startups that are helping people that are expats and people living all over the world transfer money easily. That's Revolut, that's Wise, companies like that, which have also brought a lot of competition to the marketplace. So there's really a lot of options, and they all each have their pros and cons and different challenges, but it's a very important thing for people moving here that have money in the States that want to get here to set up maybe even more than one efficient way of transferring money here that they feel comfortable with, that they feel safe with. And that's, for sure, very important.
That's the safety part is a big issue. I don't know how long you've been here, but I've been living in Israel for quite a long time and seen the demise of multiple money changing operations. People think it's just in and out to the money changing thing, but you don't want to be the one, the day that they go under, for whatever reason, you don't want to be the one who's got their money with them, and then there's nowhere to turn, right? You're basically finished. The money is
you should always use an established company, and there's different safety when it comes to what the particular things you're using, but for sure that's a very
important. Some of these companies, the fintech companies like Wise, might not be yet available in Israel, but I'm sure it'll be rather shortly. They're also offering debit cards and credit cards as well, so you will be able to do everything sort of in a one-stop shop. Yeah. Right? It'll make life sort of easy in terms of living in multi-currencies.
Revolut in particular lets you do basically everything with your account. You can transfer money 10 times a month for no additional cost. You can exchange as much money as you want. You can save in shekels and create different sub-accounts that help you save for specific goals. And you can use your debit card to spend in shekels. I don't know of any other non-Israeli credit card or debit card that you can actually spend in shekels with. The no foreign transaction fee credit cards are charging you in dollars. You're getting an exchange rate every time you make a transaction, whereas Revolut, you can save money in advance. You can kind of reduce your risk as far as exchange rate. You can buy shekels and you can spend in shekels all along the year or however you budget, which is a very interesting advantage for somebody who's working in the States or is bringing over money constantly from the States. There's a lot of very interesting, fintechs like this coming out. And I think there's going to be a few more soon as well.
Another, I guess, in terms of for the Olim who already live here, we'll touch on one more issue. Probably the biggest issue, the hottest thing that's going on in Israel has been, as in many places of the world, obviously, is sort of the overheated, potentially, real estate market. For people who are living here, buying a home might be different than it was when they bought a home wherever they came from, where they immigrated from. Can you just walk us through a little bit the process, what to look out for in terms of when you're buying a home in Israel?
Well, I recently gone through this, and I recently did an interview with a lawyer I'm very close with about this issue, and he really provides a good walk down. But how would I compare it to buying in the States? It's definitely I never bought a
What
house
do
in the
people look
States.
out for? What do
Yeah.
people look out for, let's say, when they buy an apartment here? What are the things they need to know when they're buying an apartment?
Number one, you really want a lawyer who's going to look out for your interests. There are tons of paperwork, and which might be in a foreign language to you. Even if you speak Hebrew fluently, it might be in a foreign language to you. There's tons of different bureaucratic bodies. There's taxes involved. There's all kinds of complex issues. You want somebody who's going to represent your interests. If you're buying from a kablan, that kablan is a lot bigger than you. You're a little guy, and he can squash you. If you're buying from a individual, your interests are not aligned. He's trying to sell you something, and you have to make sure that you're taking care of your interests. Having a good lawyer, getting somebody to inspect the property. These are all things that really bring a lot of value, I think. And of course, making sure especially if you're bringing money over from the States, or you're saving up for a down payment, having a way to do that in shekels. You're going to be buying a property in shekels, or in almost all cases now. I know real estate used to be priced in dollars back when the currency wasn't as powerful. But you're going to be buying a house in shekels, and your banks can give you a lot of trouble. You want to make sure you have a set way to get the money here. And not cause delays, especially if you find your dream home and you don't want to lose the deal. That's what I would say.
I second everything you said. The importance of a lawyer is second to none. Yesterday, a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from somebody who was basically buying an apartment here sight unseen, got some pictures from the agent, and decided that they desperately needed to buy that apartment because of its location and through other reasons. After going into it a little bit, it turned out that it was what's called church land. Now, I don't want to go into all the nitty gritty and the minutia of church land, but needless to say, if you don't know what that is, and you don't speak to your lawyer, you could really be up the creek, literally.
Yes.
And I said, did you speak to a lawyer? He said, well, I've got somebody, but, I said, do you understand church land? He's like, no. I said, you better, the first thing to do before you plunk down all that money is speak to your lawyer and really understand what you're getting into. And
there's some laws here that are in place from the time of the Ottoman Empire that are still respected, which is, you really got to know what you're doing and make sure everything is kosher.
Correct.
Especially with a purchase as big as real estate.
Yep. Aaron, I was remiss. How can people get a hold of you?
Go on my website. We got contact form. I've got a WhatsApp link there that you can WhatsApp me. I do try and be responsive and help people out with quick questions when I can. So feel free to reach out to me. It's aliyahmoneytips.com. Lots of articles, lots of guides there, and you can always reach out to me there.
Okay, that's great. We'll also post your contact information at the notes on the show as well on the YouTube channel. You are tuning in to the Aaron Katzman Show, where we speak to you about your life, your money, and your investments. Be sure to like this video and podcast, and if you've yet to do so, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. So we're speaking about Aliyah money tips, and we spoke up until now about what people who have already made Aliyah should look out for. Now I'd like to transition to the other side of the ocean, so to speak. We all know that interest in Aliyah over the last 2 years has been record-setting. There are all kinds of projections out there from the Jewish Agency, anywhere between 50 to 100,000 Olim they view are going to be coming in the next 5 or 6 years. There's definitely a buzz about Aliyah. For people who are thinking about Aliyah, what are some things that they need to think about on the financial side of things, and some tips that you can give to them? Right.
So of course you want to understand where you're at as far as employment and where you're at as far as a job, and figuring out, are you going to be able to keep your job remotely? Are you coming here and going to have something lined up? That's going to be a big determinant of your status. If you're coming here as a retiree, how do you have access to your retirement funds, and how do you have access to cash flow in Israel to make sure that you're able to live a retirement life and be safe, and you're taking care of all your risk and stuff like that. So it really depends what stage you're coming from. There's so many Olim that are coming now and becoming Chayil Bodedim and stuff, which is incredible. And they're moving here and they're starting at a totally different stage of life. There's people that are moving here after retirement, in the middle of retirement. There's people that are moving here as families. It's really unbelievable. I think we can definitely agree on this, that it's very exciting to see it, see the Aliyah numbers growing. I think it's I think it's a really big opportunity for people who are living here to lend a helping hand and to welcome all these new Olim. It can be a little challenging. You have to get the right mindset. There's a lot of bureaucracy. I'm sure you'll hear that nonstop. Anybody thinking about Aliyah hears that, but it's not impossible. There's a lot of resources to help you, and there's a lot of ways that you can have a softer landing, and you can, kind of get used to systems here and financial systems, and you can really build out a plan in advance and come with a lot of confidence.
One issue I'd like to speak about, I get asked this a lot also, is that, you might be set up with your job and what have you. You might have your investments if you're living on, it doesn't really matter what stage in life you're at in terms of this, is how does one budget, right, for making Aliyah once they come here, right? People tend to think that they can almost transfer their financial life in terms of their income and their savings, their income and their expenses, excuse me, from what it was to what it is here now, right? But it's two different realities. And I think people need to really understand their budgets before they're coming. They have to give obviously some leeway in the budget in order to make ends meet, because you don't want to come here and then figure out that you're not making enough money, you don't have enough in savings, right? You want to do all that stuff beforehand. Do you have anything to say, any tips about that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to think of it differently, because a lot of people, you hear a lot about the high cost of living in Israel. And Israel does have a high cost of living in many situations, but a lot of people coming from America are confused by that, because they say, wow, I was paying for a Jewish education for my children, and now, look at what I'm paying now here in Israel. They look at healthcare and things like that, which can be major budgeting expenses that now have to be shifted and treated differently. And housing costs can be high, and groceries can be more expensive here. And it's really a different budget. You're not going to be able to keep the same structure, the same budget that you had, living in America with your Amazon deliveries, by drone. It's not necessarily going to be that case soon. It'll be that we'll have that option here too, but not yet. And it's going to be very, very different in terms of where your expenses are going. And there's a lot of great sample budgets online, but they're not going to do the trick until you get here and see it yourself. They're not going to be conclusive, but they can give you an idea, and they can give you a better feel for it. And you have to also start thinking in shekels a little bit, not in dollars. Maybe that's starting to save a little bit in shekels, so you've got that ready, and you don't have to worry about the exchange rate on the day you land, which might be great or might be terrible. We really don't know. And steps like that you can take to already feel confident that you understand, you have a ballpark estimate of what to expect when you land.
And speak to your friends who've made Aliyah.
Yeah.
Right. Don't go on some website where you have a 10th generation Israeli who, know how to get by with 8 kids and 2 bedrooms. Because chances are, if you're coming from the 5 towns or whatever, that's not the kind of standard of living that without making any judgments, right? You're not going to relate to that type of thing. So you don't want to be misled. You want to speak to friends who made Aliyah recently and sort of get a feeling about how much they're spending. Aaron, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This was fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was great.
And once again, people can reach you
at aliyahmoneytips.com. Aaron at aliyahmoneytips.com is my email. And yeah, feel free to reach out. I hope the blogs, the articles are helpful. Send me an email, something that you think is not covered enough, or a topic that could be really useful for Olim, and I would love to put it together, hopefully.
That's fantastic. And keep up the good content. It's really, really important, and it's really, really helpful for people. You've been tuning into the Aaron Katzman Show, where we speak about your life, your money, and your investments. Once again, be sure to like this video. And if you've not yet done it, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.